here's the review of Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. But before I dive into the review, I just want to add two caveats. Number one, I'm still very new to the science fiction genre. I've not read too many books in this genre yet. And number two, I am not a physics girl. Like, I mainly took chemistry and biology in school, so I don't really understand a lot of physics concepts that were in this book. And I'm saying these two things because I feel like those two might have hampered my reading experience, and I know that this book has a lot of rave reviews, so please don't come for me if you really like this book. I'm just sharing my honest opinion. So let's dive into the review. The Three Body Problem starts off right in the middle of the Cultural Revolution in China, where Ye Wenxie, the main character, witnesses her father's death. Fast forwarding to about 40 years later, there is a string of unexplainable suicides in the scientific community in China, and this is where Wang Miao, a scientist, starts investigating these, and that's where he gets led to the online game called, you guessed it, the Three Body Problem, and how all of these links together and how they discover this massive threat that is facing humanity forms the rest of the story. So I will say I was very intrigued and very interested at the beginning. Really starts off very strong, and the Cultural Revolution is not something that I really knew about, so it was very interesting to discover more about that part of history, and how Wang Miao starts to investigate these suicides and these mysterious deaths was really interesting, and I was super engaged. But I would say after about the 150 page mark, things kind of start to slow down a lot. There are multiple rounds of the game that I was talking about earlier, and while the first few rounds were definitely very engaging, afterwards the subsequent rounds just started to kind of drag, and the pace really slows and it becomes a little bit repetitive. While I do understand the need for including those games in the book, I do feel like they didn't have to have dragged it out so much. It could have been shortened. That's just my opinion. Another major factor that I didn't particularly enjoy was the fact that many of the main characters are written in a very flat manner. Like, they didn't have too much depth. Even when certain characters pass away, those scenes were just kind of glossed over, and not much was invested into those emotionally from the main characters. So I would have really liked to have more depth to them so that I could connect with them better. And finally, I would say the main thing that I didn't enjoy was the fact that there was so much physics and science and computer science jargon written in throughout the book. Especially certain chapters, like chapter 33 was so difficult to get through because I just couldn't wrap my head around all the physics terms that were being thrown around, like protons, multi-dimensional things. I really couldn't understand it. And I mean, listen, I am all up for making science fiction, sciencey and scientific, but I do believe that it has to be quite accessible and understandable by the layman so that everybody can enjoy the reading experience. And all that being said, I did find the concept to be super interesting, but I just couldn't get over the three things that I mentioned: the flat characters, the way too much scientific jargon, and of course the pacing that kind of slows down in the middle. So I don't know if I will read the other two books in the trilogy, but if I do, it might not be anytime soon. And if you are planning on reading this book, just a quick PSA, please do not read the Goodreads blurb for this book, because it just kind of gives away like 80% of the story. So just a warning, do not read that. I would suggest just picking up this book and reading it if you think it's interesting based on what I've said so far. And do let me know what you thought about this book if you have read it. And I heard that there is a series for this, and I just watched the trailer. It sounds interesting and there are some really good reviews, so maybe I should watch the series and maybe I can give a review about that. Anyways, happy reading and take care.